are you wanting to make some kind of almost specialty cuts if you need to with curves and everything? Well, let's see what we can try out with a pretty inexpensive plasma cutter that I found on Amazon. Hey guys, how y'all doing today? Hope everybody's doing great. I've never used one before. I saw some other people use this. It looked like it worked pretty good. So, I believe it's supposed to cut up to 8 millimeters in thickness. And all it runs off of is like 110 electricity and your air compressor. So, I thought, what the heck, I'm gonna try it out because I've got a lot of stuff that I want to try to do with round pipe that I need to kind of curve so that it'll fit together easy and try to weld it together, which that, but anywho, so I'm hoping that this is going to work out the way I need to be able to make those curves a lot easier than trying to take a, a metal blade and try to curve around and get all that vibration in your arm and in your hands, and of course probably go through a lot of blades because I've got a lot of pipes I want to try to cut. So, all right, let's get this unboxed and see what all we got to do to kind of put it together. I kind of pre-opened it, but definitely leave me any comments below, especially if you've already used one of these types or have used any kind of plasma cutter, because I'm pretty sure they work pretty similar to the same. To give me some tips, some tricks, some fresh ideas on it would be great. Like I said, never used one. Y'all are here watching me probably make a big fool of myself like a lot of things. But if this is your first time coming here, please subscribe and share it with all your friends, because I really like and enjoy doing everything I do to try to hopefully help out somebody, or at least show you how not to do it, which is most of the cases, Hey, so let's get started. And of course, I got this off of Amazon, and I believe my wife, she'll put one of those little link things to show you where I got it on Amazon or whatever. So if you find it interesting, check it out. I'm just, like I said, picked it up, it's cheap, let's see how it works. And look, I'm using my solar light, so if you happen to not see that video, I'll leave it. It's gonna be somewhere up here, maybe over this way. So check it out, it's working out pretty good. So all right, so here's the actual unit, and it's actually a little small little thing. I mean, it's not very big, it's not very heavy. I did do a little bit of reading, and it was saying to do, because the little tips I was reading that go on the end of the cutter part, they're expendable, I guess. They'll wear out. But the drier the air you got coming into it is supposed to be, it'll make them last longer. And it's got this little, already back here, little air dryer thing. It's, I guess, supposed to dry your air. I guess that's a little knob down there at the bottom that lets the water out if you do get water in there. So I guess you want to really try out with your air compressor, make sure that the air compressor you're using doesn't have any moisture really in it, or maybe it's got an air dryer on it as well, because that's what I'm thinking about doing, is putting one on the air compressor and then also going through this thing too. So we'll see. And it looks like that's all connected straight in, so all you have to do is just connect up to the back end of this, and it's going straight into the machine, so you don't have any extra little hoses or anything like that on it. There's your little manual. It's got a pretty good little clamp on there for your ground. I mean, it's, it's cheapo. And I guess a hose that you can hook up there. But these are like the little tips and things, I was saying that they'll wear out on there, so you kind of want to watch how you're using it. And as my wife was just telling me too, the word that I couldn't think of was consumables. I think they're classified as consumables. And I believe it's there's a tip that goes inside of here, and inside that tip is these little long deals. I have to look in the book, see what they're called. And they all go in there, and that's what will to wear out on them. So it doesn't seem like it's too bad of like a little hose. Here's a little safety switch. Pretty neat. Well, looks like that just connects up to there and there. So those little pieces, those little long pieces, they're called the electrode. And then the little end, little small end, that would be the tip. And then it's pretty much just an easy deal of everything is going to screw on and plug in to the front of the machine. And then you have your little dial to set for your amperage, and then here's your little air pressure gauge on the front of it. Looks like it's all pretty much like a plug and play, ready to go. Alright, so let me go carry this off, because if you watched an earlier video, I just have the solar in here, and I don't think I have an inverter big enough to actually run this right now, or probably enough battery bank to use it for a while. So we'll see if we can get something going. Alright, see you here in a second. Alright, so back out here. So your ground cable, I don't know, that's probably about 6 feet or so. That's not too bad. And it's really easy. It just twists in there with a little pin. It's got a little notch on there that you put on the bottom and just twist it in. And then the other cable just screws on to the end here, and then this is, I guess, the electricity that runs to the end of it, and it just plugs in and screws in. So, and then you've got a pretty good length of actual cable that runs. I mean, that's probably a good 10 feet, I guess. So that's not bad. And it looks like it's pretty easy too to, this is a little ceramic end that just unscrews. And then you have the little tip that goes in there. And then that electrode. And then it's got another little ceramic piece that goes around it. And so it just sticks down in there, and put the tip on there. And then just screw that back down on there. So that's not too bad. I mean, it's, you know, pretty cheapish plastic and stuff, but I mean, what do you expect for a really cheap plasma cutter? And it looks like it's got a pretty good heavy duty cord. That's probably about maybe 4 or 5 feet long, so you don't have a lot of room with it, but, and then there's a little on-off switch in the back, so just plug up your air compressor to it, and then this will be your adjustment for your air pressure that's on the front. Now, according to the handy dandy book, I've got the 45i 110 model bolts. I don't have this 220 one. And so 5 millimeters, you're going to set it at about 20 amps, and you only want 40 to 50 psi air pressure. So I guess we'll set the pressure on the front. So you just turn your little knob back here for your air pressure control for your gauge up the front. So if you go counterclockwise turn, it'll drop the pressure down. And if you turn it clockwise, it brings the pressure up. And so we'll bring it to about 45 since it says 40 to 50. And let's see if it, without it being on, if the air comes out when I squeeze the trigger. Oh, guess it's got to be running for it to come out, I guess. Well, let's see if I've got everything hooked up. And this is also on, because I believe the highest rating amps is up to 8mm thickness at 35 amps. So this is also hooked up on a 40 amp breaker. Well, I want to play with a couple of things just to see what this is going to do first. I've got the little pipe that I want to cut. I've got some little thin tin just to see what it does. A piece of aluminum flashing. I guess it would probably cut that too, so I guess we'll find out. Let's start with aluminum. I'm gonna clip this onto this piece of aluminum, see if that's gonna do anything. Alright, so it says to start at the edge and work your way in, but you don't want to be actually touching tip to metal. So let's see what this does, even with this stuff wet. I don't know if that's a good idea either. So we'll find out if this is a what not to do or it doesn't really matter. Who knows? Alright, flip the little trigger. Huh. Well, the air definitely blows for a little bit, but it looks like I'm going to burn the crud out of this aluminum.
Go for it.
Let's just see what happens. Okay. Maybe the amps are too high on it for aluminum. This is really, really thin stuff. So that's what it's doing right now. I'm going to turn it down to the 10 and see what that does. Well, it might take a little more practice, or this stuff is just super, super thin, and all it's going to do is just melt it away. That was even at the lowest setting, which is 10 amps. So it probably is not going to do it anyway. And of course, you know, please, down below, tell me all the boo-boos I'm making, please. All right, so let's go off of that and see what it'll do on this. And we'll put it back up to the 20. But I did notice too, when you click the button, you can start hearing the air come out. And then once you release off of it, the air is still kind of pumping out for about 2 or 3 more seconds. So keep that in mind if you decide to play with one of these. I kind of turned the air pressure down, but this is that real thin gauge tin, so it may not be designed to really cut that thin. Or I'm still doing something wrong. Alright, so those two ideas not work. But let's try it on what we're wanting to. I probably need to clean this metal up too. I wonder if that's enough ground on that end to go cut on the other end. Let's find out. Well, my shaky hands, but it seems like it's cutting it a little better. That's pretty neat. Okay, so it looks like I went too fast like this, and like I said, we're still playing around. So I've got it set, because if you can show the end of that pipe, that's not more than 5 millimeters. So, I mean, that's pretty thin stuff. My problem is getting used to this being a curve and keeping this tip right up almost to it, because you got to be really close to it but not touching it. So let's see what we can do here again. Well, as you can see, I have a very unsteady hand. Okay, well, look, I made a hole. Yeah, that's nowhere near a straight line, but my eyes are kind of crooked, so it works pretty good. I believe one thing is, my problem is, it is really hard for me to see this. So I think my welding helmet is set like maybe too dark for this. I guess since it's cutting and not welding, so maybe I just need a lighter shade, darker, you know, whatever it is for. So maybe I just need to look for a pair of cutting glasses or something that's, you know, kind of dark but not that dark like this thing gets. But it looks like it's cutting it pretty good. And I can make a jagged crookedy hole, but my whole intention is to actually cut and curve the pipes to use it. So with a little bit more practice, since you're seeing the first time using this, so you also may have a steadier hand than I got, because mine is not. So y'all have a great, wonderful day. Y'all be careful. Can't wait to see y'all till next time. Later, guys.